Welcome to the Your Leadership Legacy podcast. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I'm so excited to bring you this next podcast dedicated to you high performers out there who want to reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, maybe your career, all of it. This podcast is all about being dedicated to transformation and being the best possible leader of yourself and others that you can be in order to create a legacy that lives on. Welcome to Your Leadership Legacy. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause. I am the founder and CEO of True You Teams. And here we go. It's Kirsty and I live. Hi, Kirsty.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little new at going live from Zoom, so I wasn't sure where we were at there.
You and I both. That's kind of a cool feature.
Yeah, we're in a whole new world, right? We're learning all this new technology, everything that's going on. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, hi, I want to welcome you on. Kirsty and I, we're going to record an episode for my Your Leadership Legacy podcast right now. And we were just talking and it's like, let's just go live.
Yeah.
Let's just go live. There's lots of people right now. I know that you're talking to people nonstop. I'm talking to people nonstop. And there's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. And so like when we come live, we're here and we're live and we're here to answer questions and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes.
I got to figure out how to have the chat on the side. There we go. Now I can see questions.
Look at you go.
I know, right? It's great. It's great. So here's the thing. So Kirsty, there's a lot going on in the world right now. And so what I want you to do is just let people know a little bit about who you are. And then I want to really, really dig into just pouring some love and support into everybody. So let us know your background and what you got going on.
Yeah, so my background is wide and varied, and I guess it starts from being an outdoor educator, so kind of like Outward Bound. So going out into the wilderness and taking small groups through, right? And then relating that to how can we learn from what happens in nature and the outdoors back to either corporate or school life. So there were two components.
Right.
And from there, I dove into education. I have my master's in teaching. And from there, what was the next step? I think from there, it was into neuro-linguistic programming. And it was really from that point that my whole life changed. So through the neuro-linguistic programming, then I got certified as a life coach as well as a health coach. So now my title is executive coach, and I really help people with remembering what their purpose is and then igniting their passion so that they can live their life in power. Yeah. So just basically living a life that they love.
I love that. Tell us more about NLP.
Yeah, so neuro-linguistic programming, most people know who Tony Robbins is. If you don't know who he is, do a quick Google, you'll soon find him. So that's his background as neuro-linguistic programming. And it's looking at, so if we think of neuro being the brain and linguistic being our language, and then how our brain and our language program us. So for example, with small little word shifts, so with all this chaos going on right now, we might use words like I have to or I should, right?
No, we get to.
Yes. So when we reframe that as I get to or I choose to, we are programming our brains so that we are more enticed to do something. We feel better about it. No one wants to should, right? But if we choose or we get to, then it's bringing a different energy to it. So neuro-linguistic programming is really looking at, you feel like you're here, you want to be here, let's get you there in the quickest way possible by reprogramming you.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how does that, I know you're a life coach and all that kind of stuff. So tell us, let's go a little bit deeper into that in why somebody would want to do that. Like, why do words matter?
Yeah, so someone, what's a good example? Let's say someone wants to change a new habit. So let's say exercising more, right? And they're frustrated because they've tried all these different ways and things might have worked for a while, but then they didn't work. And they really don't know what else to do. And so when people come and see me, it's looking at, let's figure out what enabled the exercise program not to work. And then from that place, we can kind of reverse engineer it. And a lot of that is to do with the programming. So if you believe that you're never going to be a fit person, then, we can do something about that. if you are setting expectations that are not in alignment with your life, meaning you have 10 kids at home and you're expecting to do a 2-hour fitness program, right? That may not be conducive to the lifestyle that you have right now. So it's really looking at all these, it's kind of like a detective, and like figuring out like, where is this and what is this, and then piecing it all together. As humans, we don't like change, and we will follow the path of least resistance. So when we're looking to make a new habit or a positive change, we want to figure out within your lifestyle, how can we do this in the easiest, most simple way so that you will do it sustainably, meaning it's worked into your life.
Right. I think about, so my whole life I've yo-yoed in weight, right? I've been like, you name 100 and something I've been at, right? All the way up to 200 pounds. And I just yo-yoed. And it wasn't until I got this piece that you're talking about, the mindset and the belief in self and all of that straight, that I was able to keep the weight off, because we go back to our habits, because it's all about that programming and the habits and stuff like that you talk about. So one of the things that you said, because people don't like change. I want to talk about that right now, because we are in the most massive change as a planet that in the 50 years I've been around, we've ever seen. So how is NLP, how is some of the work that you do with your clients, like what does that look like today versus maybe how it has looked like in the past?
Yeah, so a client that I just spoke with this morning, she's in healthcare. Can you imagine? And so where she's working.
Thank you to all our healthcare.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know what we'd do without you guys.
Right.
So she's in healthcare. As you can imagine, she's in a hospital setting and there's a ton of chaos going on. Chaos meaning she's working super long hours. Her kids are at home. There's a lot of uncertainty. There are layoffs that need to occur, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're looking at is, amidst all this chaos, amidst all this feeling of unknown and uncertainty, what are the things we can control, right? What are some things that we can do despite the situation we're in? So one thing that she wanted to work on was her water intake. And on one level, it seems so simplistic, right? Oh, drink water. The thing is, if you don't have a system in place, you're not going to be sustainable with it, right? And so one model that works for her is looking at her body weight, dividing that in half, and then drinking that in ounces. So what that also means for her is looking at, okay, whatever amount that is, what vessels or containers will hold that amount so that it's visual. So there's a visual representation of this is what I choose to drink per day, right? So that's one of the things we worked on. Another one was looking at, okay, here was her exercise program pre-coronavirus, right? Let's modify that. Let's be realistic about what is going on and her work expectations and find a happy medium. So let's modify what we had in place before. Another thing is looking at bringing in some more calm. In some ways, people think, what? Like, why would I bring on like extra stuff to do? The thing is, it's with her, what we designed was a 3-minute program. So it's a 3-minute program. She has an app on her phone. And it's just going through that breathing before she goes into some of these difficult times. And so I think the main difference before and then now is looking at adaptation, is looking at flexibility and looking at areas that you do have control over. And there are ways that are going to support this unknown, right? The more we drink water, the more healthful we feel and the more sort of mental clarity we have. The same with exercise. We don't necessarily want to stick to the same plan. It may work for a lot of people. If you were going to the gym, well, they're closed. So what does that look like, right? It's finding those workarounds.
Yeah, what I'm hearing 2 words of what you're saying. One is intentional, like being really, really intentional. And the other one is possibility. So we're all kind of reinventing ourselves right now, right? Like whether you're working for someone, whether you have your own business, whether you have kids that are home that maybe you're homeschooling right now, right? Like we are all just trying to figure it out in this new unknown and what that looks like. And so I want to talk about intention and possibility. Because intention is kind of what you were talking about, but like it's about looking for the possibilities. So yep,
Yes.
I've done this the same way for my whole life, and today it's different. Exercising is different. You know, there's so many things that how we buy food, like all this stuff is really changing about, and it's really about looking for that possibility. So how do you coach your clients on getting out of I'm stuck in the past and I get to look forward now and see what my possibility is?
Yeah, so some of that is looking at the stories we tell ourselves, you know, and so it's having that discussion of how are you feeling right now? And then let's look at what you've just said and let's see what we can reframe.
Yeah.
For example, some people may have, I don't know why I'm on a health thing this morning. You know, let's say you want to eat a healthy breakfast, but because of all this chaos and changes and longer work hours or whatever, you know, some people may tell themselves that that's too hard to do. So if someone is using language like that, it's really looking at, well, what for you is a healthful breakfast, right? And then we'll list those things. And then it's looking at, well, what would be a reasonable time for you to spend on breakfast? And if someone says 5 minutes, great. Now we have 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. And what's the possibility?
So there's so many possibilities. You know, we can do eggs, we can do oatmeal, we can do fruit and yogurt, whatever floats your boat, right? There's so many things that can fit into 5 minutes. And if someone's not familiar with those things, they might be telling themselves a story that a healthful breakfast takes longer to make, right? And so I think when we're looking at possibilities, it's, again, looking at those stories. So what are you telling yourself now? And then let's reframe that. So if you're telling yourself that doomsday is coming and that you're going to be unemployed and you're not going to have money and your house is going to go under, let's take each one of those things and figure out, what is the truth? So NLP is looking at when something occurs, it goes into your brain, and then there's filters. And the filters are your life experience, your education, you know, it's different for each person. So when we're conscious of what those filters are, then we can look at the possibilities and we can look at reframing them. So if someone's looking at doomsday, it might be as simple as asking them, well, if X situation happened, what would that mean? Or what are other alternatives? Or where could there be help? Or what could you do to shift this to here? Who else do you know in this situation? Do you see anyone now who is in the same situation that you're fearing you may be in? What are they doing? So it's bringing up all these curious questions to find solutions and put a different perspective on what they're thinking.
I love the getting curious. That's amazing. And I love what's the truth, right? The stories that we tell ourselves, you know, aren't always fact. In fact, very rarely are they fact. And so it's really weeding through those stories. And so what I hear you say is choice. Like I did a live a couple of days ago on the power of choice. Like, I really feel like in this moment in time, we have choice right now. We have choice of whether to sit in the, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart, or we have choice to go, okay, here's my new reality, and what are the possibilities that I have within this new reality, and how am I going to stay healthy? How am I going to keep my family healthy? You know, all of those kinds of possibilities. And so when you, as you're talking to your clients right now, like what is the biggest need that you're hearing from your clients?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the biggest need is stability. You know, I mean, financial, you know. What I'm finding is that people are so confused, so fearful, and everything is so different that they're really craving some sort of stability. And I think that goes into the financial aspect too. So I think right now, people are really looking for what things can be stable, what things can we control, what things can we do that don't seem as chaotic.
Right. And that's where the possibility comes in. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's so crazy right now because there is no, we don't know what, for the first time, it feels like we're all on this like level playing field. Right.
Yeah.
And it's this question that we have of like, what's next? And, you know, everything seems chaotic and all of that. But what advice would you give somebody who's listening right now, who is like, You know, they're like listening to the words that we're saying, choice,
Yeah.
possibility, that doesn't make any sense in today's time. Like, what advice would you give that person right now if that's where they are?
Yeah, so if someone's sort of poo-pooing the idea that they have control or that there's different options, I would ask them the question, is the way that you're thinking now and the actions that you're taking now working for you?
Yeah.
And if they are, great, keep doing it. And if they're not, do you want them to be a different way? And in order for things to be in a different way, we need to do things differently, right? That includes our mindset, that includes our language, and that includes our actions. So it's as simple as that. If you want something to be different, even though this may seem like pie in the sky or woo woo or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
if you want a different result, try something different, do something different, see if that gets you closer to where you want to be.
Yeah. It's almost like how I picture it is like almost like going into battle with self, right? If I think back 5 years ago, I was in that mindset, right? Like I would have listened to something like this and went, what are they talking about? You know, like whatever, I got this kind of thing. And so in my journey and in where, you know, over the last 5 years, like I've literally gone to battle with myself, battle with my ego, battle with the stories that I was telling myself, all of it. And so what opportunity do you see right now? Like as we're sitting here today, you know, what's happening in the world is what's happening. So what's the opportunity in all of this?
I think there's tons of opportunity. And I think, you know, we were talking earlier about millennials and millennials in the workplace pre this, you know, thing. And the things that generally speaking, you know, putting them in a little basket here, generally speaking, the things that they were, right, I know, but this is a positive, right?
It is totally a positive.
So looking at things like more flexibility and working from home, right? That were two of the things that generally speaking, this group of awesome humans were after. And I think now this has put us in a position of really allowing that. So it's not possible for everyone, of course, depending on what line of work you're in. However, for a lot of people, I think this is going to be a possibility of really looking at that flexibility and really looking at, you know, we have things like telehealth, you know, it's healthcare through Zoom or through the telephone. We're looking at teletherapy. What is that? It's looking at therapy, whether it's speech therapy, psychologist, coaching, whatever you want to call it, through Zoom. I think we're going to see things like more online summits, more webinars. We're going to look at conferences and things that are now done virtually rather than meeting in person. And that is going to kind of have this ripple effect of all these different possibilities because now everyone is going to have access to this, you know? So I think I want to say it's exciting, and I don't mean to diminish, you know, people that are, you know, have lost people or are in a dire situation. What I mean is this is allowing us to think in a different way and allowing us to search and seek new opportunities, and it's pushing us. And with that push comes all this creative energy and creative ideas and new ways of being.
Yeah. It's actually really, really exciting in a lot of ways. And I say that it's super exciting. And I'm somebody who was in, like, my company was live events and speaking and training, right? And so, like, as I watched everything come off of my calendar and my calendar become completely open, you want to talk about choice, right? Like I had the choice to go sit on my bathroom floor, or like just like I've never been more fired up in my entire life, because this is completely a chance for all of us to reinvent who we are, to reinvent what's important to us, to reinvent how we spend time with our family, to reinvent, you know, to just reinvent all of it. And when we come out of this on the other side, like, what does it look like on the other side, Kirsty?
I think it's exciting. I really do. I think on the other side, there is going to be not only the things that I was talking about with the online things, but I feel like there's also a simplification, right? We don't have access to all the things that we had access to. And so I sort of see this simplification and a real clarity around what is important. And definitely that. We were talking before about that flexibility piece in the sense of kids. You know, I have Zenny, my little 3.5-year-old. She's at home right now. So, you know, is it possible that in the future that will be okay if she bursts through the door? You know, she may or may not have clothes on. Who knows?
Yes.
Like, I think there's more of a flexibility and that opportunity in, this is what it did look like, and now this is actually okay.
Yeah.
And if that is okay, what doors of opportunity or what, you know, avenues does that open up?
Right, right. It just is this huge like magnifying glass on everything, that work can be done in many different ways from many different areas, and work still gets done and we can still move forward. What do you think the biggest challenge for teams are right now? Like, what's the, you know, because like you and I, if you and I are working together for a business and we've been eyeball to eyeball on a team for however long, and now all of a sudden we're all in this remote environment, what's the biggest challenge that they're having right now?
So I think a challenge is that this is unknown territory. So what that means is some people may be more adapted to a virtual sort of online relationship, and others may not. And so I think what's going to be really important during this time is education and training on what this new normal looks like. So if we do have a conflict or something is going up, how does that look when we're not in the same situation or we're not face to face? What are ways that we can resolve that? What happens if technology isn't working? Like, there's all these little pieces. So if people can do the training, they can take some workshops, they can, you know, whatever, it's really going to help this process be smooth and successful rather than a bumble.
Right, a bumble. I love it. I love that you're from Australia. Your accent, it's amazing. A couple of the things that I think are really, really important that I want to mention before we kind of wrap up here, like self-care and focusing out, right? Like in all of this, as we try and figure this out and try and really think about what the new normal looks like as we move through this, self-care is really important. And so what I love about some of the stuff that I'm hearing is that like people are really starting to tune into that. So I'm in my home 24/7 now. And what does that self-care look like? Because if I'm on this computer for, you know, 10, 12 hours a day, that gets really old, really hard, really fast.
Yes.
And so what are you seeing in regards to some of your clients and out in the community? What are you seeing as far as self-care goes?
Yeah. So with clients, that is exactly one of the questions that I ask them is, what does it look like as far as a time frame goes in self-care? Let's say it's, you know, let's say it's 20 minutes a week for some people that are just, they've got a lot going on. Right. Okay, well, what is a nice self-care thing for you? Because it's different for everyone, right? If you're someone that enjoys pedicures and you can't go out and get pedicures, well, have you got a tub at home that you can put some water in and some Epsom salts and just sit there and soak for 10 minutes, you know? Are you someone who enjoys Netflix and you want that in the background? Or does it serve you better to have like a nice meditation going on? So I think, first of all, it's finding out what is self-care for you, or what is the highest self-care that allows you to feel the best? And then how can you implement that within these constraints that we have? Right. So, you know, does that mean getting something from a store, or does it mean carving out this time? So when you're scheduling your 12-hour day on your computer, that's a schedule thing, right? Self-care. And I think it's really important to remember that it's individual for each person. Maybe for someone, it needs to be self-care every day, twice a day. For some people, it's once a week, you know? Right. So figure out what works best for you. Yeah. Do it.
And do it. Be committed and do it. Have an accountability partner. Like the best for me is having an accountability partner.
100%.
Hey, did you exercise today? Hey, did you drink all your water today?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So what I use with my clients is the Marco Polo app. So it's a video app, right? And you can just send a little message. It takes 10 seconds. Hey, did my workout? Or, you know, how's your thing going? This is what I just did. And it helps with that accountability.
That's amazing. So anybody who's watching or listening, make sure that you've got that process put in place. Here's the thing on this. I know that we're also Facebook Live and I can't see any of the comments coming in. So in a second, I'm going to look at the comments so that we can
that
might be coming in.
Sounds good.
But the second thing that I wanted to go to before we go to that is focusing out. Like self-care is super important right now. The other thing that's really important right now is focusing out, right? It's really easy to get absorbed in, oh my gosh, all this is happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love what you were talking about on the beginning of the call of how we can reframe that. This isn't happening to us. This is happening for us.
Mm-hmm.
And in with that, we get to focus out, right? So have you called the next door elderly neighbor to make sure that they're okay? Have you called your family? You know, who do you get to reach out to
Yes.
to really just make sure the people in your life that are important and that you care about are okay?
Yeah. So I have a great personal example with that really quick. So we have a lady who lives down the street, and every time we walk our dog, we do a 3-block walk, right?
Yeah.
We met her, and she's become like a, you know, surrogate grandmother to Zenny, who's
Awesome.
3.5, right? Little bundle of whatever. And so I did that. I reached out to her through text and just, you know, how are you doing? Is there anything you need? And then I sent her some photos of Zenny, and she's a retired nurse. And she wrote back to me saying, like, Zenny and your family are like the best antidepressant ever. You know, it took
I feel like that about
10 seconds. But, you know, sometimes you don't realize like how much impact that you have with just a small little thought. And then it makes us feel good. Oh, look how happy that she is. So it's like this symbiotic thing.
Yep, absolutely. So I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about that as far as like self-care, take care of yourself and take care of others as well, kind of as we get through this. So your biggest leadership lesson in the last 2 weeks based on what's been going on?
Taking my own medicine. It really is, you know. So my first impulse is going into that, you know, doomsday, and then it's like, whoop, you know, let's really go back.
Danger, Will Robbins.
Yes, exactly. So I think the biggest leadership piece is really looking at the things that I'm teaching others and doing them myself, making sure that I'm implementing the self-care, making sure that I'm still in contact with my coach and going through the things that are really important to me, even though they may shift and change during these times. I'm the same as you with a lot of cancellations with speaking events and things that I was traveling to in live. So that I think is the biggest takeaway is if possible, whether it's a coach, a mentor, someone, be in contact with that person to keep you accountable. Otherwise, you really are going to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah, absolutely. We go back into old habits and and create new bad habits and all of that. So so the name of for those of you who are just tuning in on live, Kirsty and I were going to record a podcast episode this morning, and because of everything that's going on, we switched around. I'm like, let's just go live, let's just talk, and let's let people know that we're out there and stuff like that. And so because it's the podcast, Your Leadership Legacy, the last question I always ask people is, what is the legacy, Kirsty, that you aspire to leave?
Live a life you love.
Live a life you love. How many people do you think do that?
1%.
Yeah, right? Why is
I think
that?
a lot of it is programming from how we were raised. You know, so I know for me personally, how I was raised from farmers, we had a dairy farm in New Zealand, was security, right? So the day I got a teaching job, my mom was so happy because that equaled security, right? Stay there and get your gold watch at the end. The thing is, times are changing. And so what really lights me up is helping people and teaching people. It's just not in the school system. So now I've actually developed a new, I don't even know if I've told you about this, but a new coaching program for teens. So for me,
please.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the coaching program I do with adults. So how it looks is once a week, we do a Zoom call for an hour. And then each month we do a 3-hour Zoom call. So we're really diving in. The program's called Navigating Life. So especially with all that's going on now, you know, people are having difficulty with depression and anxiety and the unknown and how to cope with, you know, this sort of social isolation when they may have been very social creatures. So, you know, just how can we feel better? How can we live that life that we love, in these circumstances.
Right. So where can people find more information on that? That's huge.
Yeah, if they contact me through my website, which is my name, no, that's not my name. My name is Kirsty Blattner. So if you just Google that, I'll show up. And what I offer people is a 45-minute free strategy session. It's not a creepy sales thing. It's really looking at, okay, in this 45 minutes, we're going to get you started. So we're really looking at 1 to 3 things that we can get you started or set up with now.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And so go find Kirsty. She's amazing, everyone. I checked. I don't think we have too many questions, so I think we're good on that.
All right.
So yeah, we're going to wrap up. I want to acknowledge you, Kirsty, for everything that you do for the community, for everything you do for your clients. You are this beautiful, bright light in this world, and I love you so much. You're a dear friend. So
thank you. I love you too.
All right, you guys. We'll talk soon. Next time.
Bye.
All right, bye. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Check out our programs and events at trueyouteams.com. And until next time, make it an amazing day.